hotels all over, really. And it's started from the photographs that Hurley put together, the Other Side of Middletown exhibit that was at Minnetrista, and then I think at the library at Ball State, and now is in Faulkner's Mortuary. And so this is kind of an extension of that. The original Middletown study that was done in the 1920s only did the white population, and so we're going back and we're kind of doing it again, just trying to get people's experiences from the other side of Middletown. Like, we're talking to some older folks about their experiences and their children's experiences, and then doing present people now. So it's like kind of an oral history thing, collecting people's life stories, but not just about the past. So, about all times. And my partner and I are doing the educational aspect of it. So that's what we're doing, and the end product will be to write a book about it. And then all the information that we gather will go into the archives at the library at Ball State.
Okay. Well, maybe you might turn it off a little bit
Okay.
until we.
That's important.
I was born in Monticello, Mississippi. In the 40s. I was born July 31st, 1940. And I moved to Muncie when I was 9 years old. I did elementary school partly in Mississippi, and partly because we moved back to Mississippi. And we moved back to Mississippi when I was 12. Moved back to Mississippi when I was 12. And I went to, then we moved back to Muncie. Again, my father got a job here in Muncie because he was a farmer originally. And then we moved back to Muncie, and I finished the 6th grade at in Mississippi, and then I went to McKinley Middle School, and I finished the 7th, 8th, and 9th. At that time, when I finished, it was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, where now middle school is only 7 and 8. It's 8 and 9th, I believe, because it's been so long. I think it's 8 and 9th middle school is now, isn't it? 2 grades?
Yeah, I think it changes.
According to each school?
Yeah.
And so I finished the 9th grade at McKinley High here in Muncie, which has been now not McKinley anymore. And I moved back to Mississippi, and I finished the when I was 15, I finished the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade there.
Okay.
In Columbia, Mississippi. In Columbia, Mississippi, I graduated there in 1959. Let's see. May the 18th, 1959, I graduated from John J. Jefferson High in Columbia, Mississippi. And I graduated as an honor roll student. And I was in the band. I was in the band there.
What did you play?
Trombone.
Really? I played French horn.
Did you? And my kids, they all play the instrument. And so I moved back to Muncie in 1959, and I got married in 1960. And I attended Ball State. I did 2 semesters there, and I forget what the dates. was during the 70s. I think it was during the 70s that I don't have the dates right here, but I did, and I was going to be secretary, and I'm taking business courses, and then I later changed my major to become an elementary teacher. So, but I didn't get to finish. I had to come out. Had a whole lot of family problems, and my husband's job was up and down, and so I didn't get to finish. So I had 3 children.
Girls or boys?
3 girls. 3 girls. And my sister-in-law died, and she had 13 children. She had 13 children. So we helped to raise, which was Miss Pry's mother-in-law, was my sister-in-law, and we helped to raise. The baby was 6 weeks old. We taken her, and I was pregnant, 6 months pregnant, and we taken her to help raise her. And then we taken altogether we helped to raise 6 of them, of the children. Helped to raise them, and so and we helped to put one through college. One of the boys through college. He went down to Indiana University, and we have to educate him. And then my daughter, I raised one of my granddaughters. Have to raise her, and also my brother died. I had a brother to die, and I helped to educate one of his daughters, his daughter, and to help her finish college.
Where did she go to college?
She went to the University of Florida, and then she came back from the University of Florida, and then she came back and she finished her last year, because she graduated in 1990, and from Ball State. She came back home because she had a scholarship. I think it was a 2-year scholarship, and she did that one in Florida, and then she came back. It was 2 or 3 years, and then she came back and finished her last year at Ball State, and she graduated from Ball State in 1990. And last year, what was 2002? 2001, she got a master's.
Cool.
Yeah, she got.
What does she do now?
She went into, what you call it? Business administration. Yeah, business, and so she's administrator at the bank in Indianapolis. Bank in Indianapolis.
You said that you didn't get to finish your course in elementary education. What did you do then?
I just got a job. I went to work. Start working in the factory. I worked at Borg Warner Automotive for 20 years. And I worked at Indiana Glass, Dunkirk, Indiana Glass at Dunkirk, Indiana. And also I worked at the rubber factory in Montpelier. Factories, I would work to a factory, I'd get laid off, and then I would get another job, to help my husband out. So that's mostly what I've done is worked and raised children.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I guess I'm just going to ask you about your own education and then the education of your children as you guys were coming up through the school system in Muncie. So that's really all I want to talk about.
Okay.
So it won't be anything too hard. How did your family take part in your education? Did you go to the same school as your brothers and sisters? And did your parents ever stop by school while you were there?
Well, my parents were much older. You know, like my father was 20 years older than my mother. And my father was uneducated. But my mother, at the time that she was going to school, you know, like 8th grade was like 12th grade.
Yeah.
And so she had just a minimum education, you know, she could, but my father had no education. And she always supported me in school, and she was always interested in us going to school. She worked so that we could go to school. So I finished high school, and my two brothers, well, I had 5 brothers, but 3 of them was at home that was raised with me. The other 2 was not. And 2 of them finished high school, so that made 3 of us out of our immediate family finish high school. My one brother didn't, but he did learn, you know, learn to read and write, so none of us was illiterate. And I had 2 sisters, and they didn't finish high school, but they, you know, had high school education. They didn't graduate, but they have high school education. And there's my 2 adopted sisters. You know, 2 adopted sisters. So we all, you know, my mother, that was one thing she was very strict about, was us going to school. And she wanted to make sure that we all learn to read and write and, you know, be able to take care of our business and to do things.
What were some of your favorite subjects in school? What did you really enjoy doing?
I loved English and literature. I liked history. I liked all our subjects. See, in the South, when we went to school, you didn't get to choose what you wanted. They chose the subjects for you. And those was my straight A subjects. But math, I passed. But that was one of my subjects. The one that I needed most. Well, but I you know, I got past some grade in it, but it's just not a favorite subject. But in math, percents was the greatest subject, greatest part of math that I like to do. And I said, now I really needed that, because figuring all the percents and grosses and different things, you know, when you read the paper, you really know where you are getting a sale or not.
Yeah. For sure. Did you have anything included in your courses that included like Black history or Black culture or Black
yeah,
literature?
we had in the South we had Black History Month, and it's really highly illustrated in the South than it is in the North. Because see, now at the time that I went to school, the schools was not integrated. I went to all black schools and had all black teachers. But now they are integrated. But at that time they were not. And so Black history, we was taught Black history all the time. And then we had a whole week that we had, you know, important people to come in. We had programs, and it was just a great thing, you know, and had a lot of history people, a lot of speeches, and they educated us in about the black people. It's done more in the South than it is in the North. Much, much more.
When you were in school in Muncie, did they include anything about black history or black culture, or was it just in your schools in Mississippi?
I don't remember them ever having anything at my time, see, because I was going to school during the 50s here. And no, they didn't. They did not.
In your schools in Muncie, did you have any black teachers? Or was it just
I went to McKinley, and let me see, at Longfellow, did we have any black teachers? We had a black principal. Assistant principal. He wasn't principal because back in that time you hardly ever found any black principals. I didn't. At Longfellow, I didn't have any black teacher, and at McKinley, I didn't, because I didn't go to Central. Now, Central might have had some, because I finished my last 3 years, and that was one reason that I went back south, because my mother and father were separated. My father lived in the South, and my mother lived here, and I went back down south to finish my last 3 years because of the prejudice. It was just so much prejudice in the schools. And the activities, if you were black, you couldn't, you never was chosen for anything because there was just only a few, and they, you would try out for things, because I had 2 cousins to try out for cheerleading. Well, they didn't have any black cheerleaders, or you never could just really, do anything. And so I left and moved to the South, where I really enjoyed my last 3 years. It was because of the prejudice and how they would grade you and just, grade you and take off on your grades and, and all that. We just experienced a lot of prejudice in that time.
Do you have any specific stories about, like, assignments that you remember being graded down on, or, like, activities that you tried out for or tried to take part in?
Well, let me see. Most of the time, like in home economics, when you sew, my girls did projects where they would sew and their garments was good, but they never won anything. And after so long, after you try and try, then you just get well, what's the use, you just get to the point, you're not going to be chosen anyway. Somebody else going to get it, whether they qualify or not, and so you just get to the point, you just go and do what you have to do, and then that's it. So I know in home economics, we would bake-offs, we would have, make, and like in art, our projects and things in art and everything, they never was good enough,
Yeah.
Never was good enough. And so you just do what you have to do for a grade and just go on.
Yeah.
And just go on.
Did your daughters experience the same thing as they were coming through the school system?
Same very thing. Same thing.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Okay.
I was going to ask, were there, did your daughters have any black teachers or black administrators?
Oh, yeah. We, by the time that they were going to school, they had, Muncie doesn't haven't had a whole lot of black teachers. I mean, you go to the school now in 2003, you go to Muncie Central, you're not going to see that many black.
Yeah.
And Muncie is a place that is, to me, very prejudiced. You wonder why. It seems like we never can but it's a lot better than what it was. But when you go downtown in Muncie, you don't have to say anything, but just look. Go in the banks. You don't hardly see, maybe you see 1 or 2 people. And in the business world in Muncie, there aren't very many black people. And I experienced the same prejudice on the jobs. You know, we never hardly elevated too much. You know, and my daughters, although they live in Columbus, and you know, a lot of time they passed over. Which I didn't tell you at first. My oldest daughter passed when she was 36. She was 36. That's her painting my husband did in there on the wall. She had a heart attack, and it came a lot from the stress on the job. Yeah, on the job, different things. But she was very good in math, and she made good grades. And she 2 years before she died, she commuted back and forth from Washington D.C. And she went and she taken this course, and she came out with flying colors, and she was told under the impression that she would get a promotion if she took this course, and she came out and made good grades and came through it, and she was a math whiz. But you know what? The job was given to somebody else. That's right. And a lot of time we'll pass over, especially if it's any money in it. We'll pass it over. You know, it doesn't mean anything about your qualification or what, but we'll pass it over a lot of time. And she didn't get the job, and it really hurt her. But and then I experienced another. My daughter was middle daughter. She was going to the Air Career Center over here, and so she was going to the business. She was in business over there, and business administration through the school. The school, you know, from Muncie Central, they taking class at the Area Career Center, and so out to ABB, out to this factory, they was needing somebody out there, and so she sent. It was one girl, and she sent my daughter with her. And I told my daughter before she went, so her feeling be hurt. I said, now they're just sending you for a token. I said, you're not going to get the job, just expect it. Because we had to, you know, as black people, we had to prepare our children for the falls, so they'll be able, because we as black people, to stand all the things we've gone through, we had to teach our children what to look for. But not teach them hate. No, never teach them hate. You know, never teach them hate, because hate only hurts you. Not the person you hate. It only hurts you. And we're Christian people. We don't ever teach hate, but we had to teach them what they expect. And I told her, I said, now you're not going to get the job. You're just going to be a token, because they have to send a black and a white. I said, but you just expect the white. This is just Muncie. White girl's going to get the job. I said, you just expect that.
And is that what happened then?
Exactly. And she wasn't disappointed, because she already expected, you know. I said, now you're just not going to get the job, because they don't hire very many people. I said, even in the banks and places you go here in Muncie, not often you're going to see any blacks out front. Not very many you're going to see out front. And this is just something we put up with here.
Was it difficult when your children were young to warn them about prejudice without having
Well, you know, when children are small, they don't experience as much prejudice as you do when they get up into middle school and through high school, because kids, they don't think of it like that, you know. Until now, some little kids, when you see children come from homes that prejudice is taught, then they're mean. Because I worked in Head Start for 9 years, and also I worked in the nursery. And little children, they don't see prejudice. They don't see black and white. It's just only when they get up and then, you know, like there's some parents. Now, there's all different races in a nursery, and then there's some parents will teach their children, don't you touch them. And, you know, kids have to be taught prejudice. But when they get up, when they grow up, then they come in contact with prejudice. That's different. But when they're taught prejudice, and that's through ignorance, because you can't be with that child all the time. And then when you teach these things to a child, then when that child grows up, it's all mixed up. All mixed up. All mixed up. So that's the worst thing you could ever do, is teach your child prejudice. But some people do. And they're not all white. And they're not all black. Both races do that.
Yeah. So were your kids in middle school when they started to experience prejudice, when you started to talk about it more with them?
Yeah, that's when they would come home. I didn't talk about it much. Yeah. But they would come home and they had white friends and people to come in, because I always taught them, anybody that comes to your house, you treat people right and you do what's right. But they would come home and tell me about prejudiced teachers and children and what they say and names called. And I didn't allow mine to fight unless somebody hit you, Yeah. I said a name doesn't hurt you, as long as you know you's not what you call. Right. I said, but a lick, I don't expect you to stand up and let somebody hit you. And I said, that's a different story. I said, but words don't bother you. I said, you just ignore words. Yeah. Some people will fight you for a name you call. And I just told them, I said, well, only thing hurts is a lick. And I say, whatever somebody call you, if you're not that, anybody call me a dog if I know I'm not a dog, so it doesn't bother me. Yeah. Try to teach them strength, to have strength. Don't fall on everything, to be strong. And my girls are pretty strong, so. And we like I said, we're Christians. We teach them what's right.
Once there started to be more black teachers and administrators in the school system, did they incorporate any black history or black culture into what they were teaching the students? Do you know, if your daughters had anything more than what you had while you were
in
Muncie?
Yes. They began Muncie, after the 60s, during the 60s, and I tell you, when Muncie really began to change was after Martin Luther King. After uprising of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, that's when Muncie began to change a little. Yeah. It began to change a little, and things are much better here than it used to. But still, there's neighborhoods where they don't want blacks. Although blacks sometimes will buy out in these neighborhoods, and sometimes they're charged almost twice as much. Oh yes, that's to keep you out. Oh yes, to keep you out. And we still. Oh yes, there's still cross burning sometimes in Muncie. Oh yeah.
Dolores said that she's had trouble with their neighbor where she lives.
Oh yeah, very prejudiced, very prejudiced. Yeah, it's been cross burning and different things, and there's certain towns, little towns around in Indiana where black people are not allowed, and you think, well, this is the North. Doesn't make any difference. Yeah. So, well, you don't be caught here at night and all this kind of stuff. Maybe one of these days. But it's a lot better. Yeah. People are trying.
What was your relationship with your teachers like?
Oh, I had some teachers. My home economic teacher, and I had, in the 7th grade, I had one teacher. He was just really mean, a science teacher, and I wasn't that good in science, and he'd just give you an F, and he really didn't like black people. And that was when I was going to McKinley, and let me see, in the 9th grade. But I had a home economics teacher. She was really, really nice. And Miss Pugsley, she was a good music teacher, but he was just prejudiced. Our science teacher. Oh yeah. But most of the time, most of the teachers, was pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good.
Did you have any really supportive teachers that really encouraged you to further your education?
They would teach the class, and if you had a question, you would go up and ask them, and they would just give you information what you asked. But as far as being close to you and talk to you, and nah.
Yeah. Was that all the students?
Well, I guess if you're black, you don't pay that much attention to them because they're really not there to care for you.
Yeah.
Like you would, like our teachers down south. Well, they taught us like they were black, and they taught us like our parents. And they was really interested in you going forward and making it, because they had feelings for you.
Yeah.
But, when you went and you had white teachers, well, they just really weren't interested in you. They were just there to teach you, and you got that feeling,
Yeah.
And they taught the class well. We'd ask them. They were kind, but, as far as being close to you, And this was just every day you go in, you sit in that class, and you try to learn what you can. If you have a question, you ask the question, but that was it.
Yeah. So they didn't have the teachers didn't have any kind of relationship with the families at all. And Dolores said that when she was going through school that if the kids got in trouble, then the teachers would take them home and make sure they got a whipping.
Well, now, if you was a troublemaker or something like that, they would make a house call.
Yeah.
But like when my kids was going to school, like I told them, I say, now when they get in trouble, I would see them. I said, well, why, when they're doing good, why can't you ever come, and sit down and talk or something like that? I said, you wait till they're in trouble, and then they call you to come to the school. And I told them, I said, well, why, when they're doing good, why can't we ever see you then? Because I had to leave work and then go to the school and sometimes I think that is why a lot of black kids get into trouble. Is because of these things, and some of them come from homes, torn homes that's torn, then they go to school, and then they just figure, well, what's the use?
Yeah.
Nobody really cares. And so I think that's why a lot of time we have a lot of trouble kids and kids that drop out of school. The parent, is the best teacher. We don't send our kids to school to learn everything. The parents is the basic of a child's education, I feel. And then when they don't get it at home,
What do you think are the most important lessons for parents to teach their family, their children?
One thing is manners, respect, teach them manners and teach them respect, and teach them to love themselves. And to always try to see some good in everyone. Not to be critical.
How did you get these messages across to your daughters?
Well, I talked to them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to them. We had our talks, and I taught them to be good homemakers. They always had chores.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't lay around. And we had rules and regulations of this house.
Mm-hmm.
And the rules and regulations we had, my husband and I both agreed on it. If I said yes, he said yes. If I said no, he said no. And that's the greatest part in raising children. Because, you know, like I said, I raised my nephews too.
Mm-hmm.
And boys, you know, and when we said something, we stuck by what we said.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there was a real good reason why we had to change.
Mm-hmm.
But not just because you wanted us to change.
Yeah.
But, you know, they had privileges. And like I said, we had rules, you know, to the house. We had days that we cleaned. My daughters, one had a week, like I say, to cook. One had a week to clean. But we always ended our chores on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
All our work was done, and their homework and everything was done by Friday. Saturday always was their day.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday we go to church. It wasn't, do you want to go to church? No. It was church. And they knew this, and they enjoyed going to church.
Uh-huh.
They had friends at church. They sang in the choir, and they had church activities.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturday was their day. Saturday was their day.
What were some of the things that they liked to do on Saturdays?
Well, now sometimes they go to the game, and sometimes, you know, they would go shopping, and sometimes they go to their friend's house, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they had parties, and they was busy all the time, and sometimes they would have sleepovers, a lot of sleepovers, and but the children's parents, they never could go to parties where the parents wasn't there, like the parents out of town, and that, no. They just had a lot of fun, and girls, and their friend was always welcome to come here, always cooked and fed their friends, and same way with the boys, they always was welcome here. You know, we always had a house full of kids all the time, so they had a lot of fun coming up. They had fun, and then we went on vacations every summer, and we would take the kids with us. And so that was another thing. We hardly ever left them. We mostly always taking them with us. Mm-hmm. It was cheaper to carry them.
Where did you go?
We would go sometime to Mississippi, and we went to Los Angeles, California, and we went to Seattle, Washington, and we went to New York 2 times, and every year we go somewhere. We've been in every state in the United States.
Wow.
We take them. We've been to Florida one time. We've been on, me and my husband, we've been on 6 cruises, and they've been on a cruise, and so we would save our money, you know, and we didn't do wear a lot of frilly clothes, but I always wore nice clothes, but we didn't spend a lot on things like that, and I saved so we would have a nice vacation every year, and they look forward to that.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice
A lot
vacation.
of fun.
Yeah, they did. They really enjoyed themselves, and I think they're pretty rounded.
What are some of your favorite places that you've gone to?
Let me see. My favorite place. I love to go to New York. I would like to live there, and I like to Los Angeles too.
Mm-hmm. New York City or the state?
New York City. I went there and we stayed there. And I like Atlanta, Georgia. I like Florida. Oh, I love Florida. I love to go down. I love to go down there. I wouldn't like to stay there, but I love to go there. So we've gone a lot of places. I went to Los Angeles, but all those mountains, Denver, Colorado. So we've traveled a lot.
I've been to Denver a couple times with my family.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I really
I've got 2 nephews live there. Quite a few family there.
It's really pretty out in the mountains.
Oh,
Love it
yes,
there.
yes. The West is beautiful.
Yeah. You said that your children were all really involved in church. Like, how did you go about their religious instruction? Did you have like devotions with them weekly, or did you just talk about it? Or
Well, the church that we attended, it had like on Sunday night was YPWW, which was Young People's Willing Workers. So they went to that, and on Wednesday night they went to choir practice, and so automatically we go to Bible class, and they had their Bible class. We went to Bible class on Tuesday and regular service. Now most of the time on Friday they didn't go to regular service, just mostly adults, because sometimes they would have a game, because all of them was in the band, and sometimes they'd have band practice. I didn't make them go as much through the week, but they had to be there on Sunday. Now, when school's out, they would go to church more, and they enjoyed it because they would meet their friends there, and we would have different things at the church, And so, but I would talk to them about the Bible. I would teach them, about different things, and I still do today. I still talk to them about different things. Although they're married, I still counsel them and tell them things.
yeah, it's important.
Yes, whether they're listening or not, but
I'm sure they are. I know you were really busy working all the time that your children were in school, but did you get to ever take part in their education at school? Like,
oh
did you
yes,
have time to
I made sure. Even driving people back and forth to volleyball practice, because my youngest daughter, she plays the piano real well, and then what did she play in the band? I was trying to think. She like the man. Saxophone. My middle daughter plays the saxophone, and she plays piano and plays real well. And oh yes, all of their important things, and I would take off work and go on their field trips.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Because my husband worked 2 jobs for 20 years, and he just never was able to do it, and so I had to be mother and father. But all the important trips, and I supported everything they did, all their projects.
Like science projects?
Yes, all their science projects and different things, and then their church projects. So I stayed busy. I did not have time to be bored. And plus I helped raise my brother's 2 children. And I had to take care of them. Go to their school things and help them and be there for them, because their mother, she wasn't here. So I just spreaded myself pretty far. Seems like that's all I ever done is raise kids and work.
What kind of activities were your nephews involved in? You said your girls were in like band and volleyball.
Yeah. My nephews, they played football, and they played basketball. And they, different. Let's see, what did Herbie and John do? They went to high school and they played. I know they played basketball and football and different things the school had. I would go to their things, whatever they had, to do their class projects and all that. I just, I would take off work, but most of the time I worked midnights. That's so I could be up during the day for them.
What are some of the projects that you remember them working on hard?
Oh, let me see. That's been so long. Let me see. What did Herbie?
Do any jump out at you?
Yeah, boys, because they took shop. They had shop and they had wood projects. They did wood projects, and and they had art. They did more art than the girls did.
Really?
They did more art. You know, I remember Dawn making these animals out of something like 10. You know, 10 people. I remember him doing that, and then I remember him making some kind of frames. Now Herbie, he worked more with wood. He did the wood projects, and those are some of the things that they did.
What about your girls? What did they work on?
Oh, they had so many different projects. Let me see what. Like I say, they had art. They made different things in art, and I'm trying to think. You know, when you got nieces and girls, and they made. Now my oldest daughter, she did a lot of things in sewing. Yeah, she sewed real good. She made me a 3-piece suit. Was one in home economics, and my baby girl, she made. I remember her making frames, and then she worked with paper. You know, paper and glue and stuff like this. She made projects. She made what you call those paper projects. She worked with that a lot, and whatever they had them doing in art, they worked. They made projects from art. They didn't have a whole lot of, you know, when they was going to school, they didn't have a whole lot of projects. So mostly what they did was in art. Home economics. But now they done cut out home economics, so they don't, you know, kids, it's not a required subject. It was required when I was going to school.
What kind of stuff did you, what kind of projects did you do? Did you ever do, like, science fairs, or was it just,
I hated science. And most of the time, like I said, our teacher, most of the time, he would have us to work on things together, but it wasn't nothing that you could bring home. He would have us together, according to what chapter we was studying in. He'd have us to gather rocks, dissect snakes and frogs. Yes, that's what we had to do.
I put the gloves on and I wrote the lab report. I made my partner do all the frogs.
Yes. Well, we had to do it. And he'd come around and see what you doing it, and well, that was one thing that we did. And I had gardening. I had one as a project. I had gardening, and I still have a garden today. I liked it that. And I always liked it to cook. And sometimes that would be, because we get to choose sometimes our project, what we wanted to do. And I made biscuits, and I made cake. And I'm still cooking biscuits and cakes today. You know, we had to do everything from scratch then.
Yeah.
And I had sewing. And sewing. I like to sew, but I never could sew that well. My daughter could really sew, but I wasn't good at it. I just sewed enough to get a grade.
I just got a sewing machine for Christmas.
Oh, did you? Do you sew?
A little bit.
That's good.
I was in 4-H when I was younger, and so I did that for about 4 years.
I was in 4-H too. I love 4-H. Oh, yes.
What projects did you do?
Like I say, I did gardening, and that was most of my biggest, because we only could do 4-H during the summer.
Yeah.
We didn't do it during the school. And that was mine, was gardening and housekeeping. That was the two that I did, gardening and housekeeping. Because like I said, we didn't have a lot of money to do, you know, do any great things, but that was good. And our 4-H teacher, she's come around, see how well you kept your house, was it clean? And she would never tell you when she was coming, you know, to see are you a slob or not.
Yeah. How did you do?
Well, I did well. Because since I didn't ever know when she's coming, I would clean it every day. Probably if she wasn't coming, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Did your girls or your nephews do 4-H at all?
No, no. Because, see, that was, we lived a period in the country, and only the peoples in the country had 4-H.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. I don't think they have it here in town. Just only, rural have 4-H here in Muncie as I know of.
Yeah.
I think that's sad, don't you?
Yeah.
That's probably why so many city kids get into trouble. They don't have enough to do.
Yeah. Well, I always took sewing, and I live on a farm, and so my dad made us show pigs every year. Hated that.
Oh, I like we had goats, we had hogs, we had cows, we had horses, and we had mules, and dogs, cats. We had all kind of animals.
Did you do anything with the livestock in 4-H at all?
No, we didn't. We did not. Most of the time, the people, a lot of the boys, that you had to grow them for 4-H. You know what I mean? Keep them groomed and all that. And so my brothers, they wasn't interested in it. But some of the boys did have livestock, especially when we have 4-H day. When we have 4-H day at the fair, and then sometimes we have 4-H day where everybody come, and those was the great times. As the kids now, they think people that live on the farm is boring, but it's much better than living in the city.
Yeah. Well, my pigs would always go stand in the corner.
Yeah.
I had to move them out.
Oh, dear.
Didn't work very well. What am I forgetting to ask you?
I don't know.
Did you read a lot when you were young?
Yeah, and I still do. I have always loved to read. I have books, and books. And all of my kids love to read.
Good.
Yeah, and even I got some little great-grandkids. And they love books, and they love to read. We read to them. And my girls, all of them love to read. They read novels, and they read. And my youngest daughter, she is going to, what's the school out here on? And she's finishing. She's interested in medical. What did she say? Something in the medical field. But she will be going to Ball State when she get done going out here too. What's the name of the other school? Out here on Cowan Road. What is that? You're not from here? Okay. I can't think of it right now. That's what happens when you get old.
Did you read to your kids a lot?
Yeah, I read to them and worked with them. Before they started after they started the school, I didn't read as much to them, but I helped them with their schoolwork, and until they learned how to read, I read to them and taught them different things, and I worked with them a lot until they started the school, and then I would, work with them with their schoolwork.
You said you did other things with them other than read to them. What other kind of things did you do? Like, I know you said you didn't really like math, but did you work through like math problems with them and stuff?
Oh yes. Until they got above my education. Then I couldn't help them anymore. But I always made sure they had their library card, and I bought encyclopedias. Make sure I had good books for them to study and to read. And I bought, expensive dictionaries and things that they could study and have to do their homework with and to read. And I bought Black history books that they could read about the peoples of the past, and always taking black papers so they could, know what the black people was doing, because very seldom anything was in the regular paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always bought the black papers to make sure that they know what our community is doing.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever work with their friends at all too? I know you said there were kids over here all the time.
Mm-hmm. And most of their friends that came was their friends that went to church, and we were friends with their families.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, so they mostly, all of them got the same teaching.
Was your mom able to work with you at all like that?
Well,
Read with you? I know she was probably really busy raising everybody and working.
Well, when we were, like I said, when we were younger, oh yes, she worked with us. She taught us to read in the elementary books. She taught us our ABCs. She taught us how to count. She taught us basic things. So when we started to school, we already knew that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she worked with us. And I did the same with my children. Before they went to school, they knew their ABCs, how to write their name and their age and all these things that they didn't learn after they went. They learned that before. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to learn to read if you know your ABCs. But a lot of children now, they learn to read and they don't know their ABC. And I don't know how they do it, but that's the way I was taught. So I taught my children, because if you know your alphabets, then it's good to put the words together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I learned how to read by memorizing this one book that I made my mom and my dad and my older sister read to me over and over. And
that's
over again.
Children. They love for you to read the same book over and over and over, and they memorize it.
Yep. It was called Red Fox and His Canoe. I loved that book. So I memorized where they turned the pages, and then eventually I memorized where the words kind of were, and then I could read.
It's not hard.
My parents, when I was first learning how to read, used to let me stand on the pew when we were in church and share a hymnal with them, and I remember just singing the words that I could read in the hymn and not anything else. So I remember specifically singing Jesus and the one song, and that was it.
Well, you were learning.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. That's really great. To remember those look like little things. That mean a lot. Okay.
What church did you go to?
Now, until I was 19, I attended the Baptist church. And then when I was 19, I was converted to Pentecostal, and I'm still Pentecostal.
What church do you attend now?
I attend Pentecostal church, which is Terrestrial Temple Church of God in Christ. It's a Pentecostal church.
There are several different groups in this class that I'm working with, and my boyfriend is in the religion group, and so I haven't gone to very many of the churches with him, but I'm going to start. I'm in my church choir here, and so the Sundays that we don't sing, I want to start going.
Where you attend?
Grace Lutheran. It's right off campus, on Reserve Street between Riverside and University.
Yeah, I know where it is.
There aren't very many students that go there, which is surprising, I think, since it's so close to campus.
Yeah.
I know that there are a lot of students here from Fort Wayne, and Fort Wayne is very Lutheran.
So, it is? Oh, okay.
So I don't know, I've always figured there would be more students there, but there, I don't know, maybe at the most 15 of us that go very regularly.
That's good. That's good. It's just something about your spiritual life that's so fulfilling, and it helps you in everything that you do, because it helps you to think straight and not do stupid things. People without God, they just do so many stupid things. Why? Because they're without knowledge. Some people feel, well, the Bible's not even necessary. It is. It really is. It sure is. They help you to think straight, I think.
Do any of your grandkids live around here?
No.
No?
All of my grandkids are away. I just have one daughter here, and all of my grandkids are. My one daughter is in Phoenix, and my others, all the rest of them, are in Columbus, Ohio. And my little great grandbaby. Sometimes I get them and bring them down and let them stay a while.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I have one. She'll be 6, the 28th this month, and then a little boy, he's 2.
Fun.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you do with them when they come?
Oh, when they come, I like to take them shopping, and then I take and let him take him to the park, and I take them and let them ride on those little horses and different things, and take them to the fair. They usually come during the summer. You know, in the winter there's not a whole lot they can do though, but I always take them and do things with them. Let them to the game rooms and let them play, and
Fun.
we do a lot of things with them.
You get to see them? Do you read to your great grandkids too when you get to see them?
Oh yes. I read to them. My little granddaughter. She every night she used to get in a story before she goes to bed, and she wants you to read. And my little grandson, the nursery he goes to, they read to him, and he'll get his book, and he doesn't know how to tell you what he wants, but he'll go get the book he wants, and he wants you to read to him.
What is some of the favorite stories that they like?
Those books are in there, but I forget what the name of them. And they will like, if I have 2 or 3 different books, they get to bring their books with them, but I can't remember the subjects of them now. What is the one book that she wanted me to read to her all the time? Can't remember what the book is, but she'd always get to pick the book, what she wanted. What is the name of these books? Can't think right now.
When your kids were in school, did you get involved with PTA or anything?
Oh yes. They went to Washington Carver Elementary, and I was very active in the PTA, and I was over at the school all the time. Oh, they had some good teachers at Washington Carver. They had good teachers there, and we worked together, and they had a good curriculum there, and then they had a lot. I said it was like a zoo. They had all kind of animals for the kids. Oh yes, they had turtles, they had snakes, they had rabbits, they had frogs, they had lizards, and
wow,
all kinds of things. And they would always have programs, and a lot of time we would have things where we come together and eat, you know. And I was just there all the time. It was really nice. Now in Central, you know, I didn't belong to the PTA, but I supported them in whatever they did. Because they was older, and a lot of time they're not as interested as they are in elementary.
Yeah.
They're kind of more on their own, you know, and especially the boys, you know, they kind of get ashamed, you know. Yeah. Don't want the girls to see you tagging along behind them, but then there comes a time they want you there.
Yeah. I was just at Washington Carver last night. They had family literacy night, and so I went and observed that.
Washington Carver is great. All of my kids went there, and I just love it.
Did they have that program when your kids were in school? That was one of the things that you went to? Yes. And they had such a nice, you know, program. They would have different people to come in to the school, you know.
and that was educational. Movies, they had movie time, and sometimes they'd invite the parents to if they had interesting movies, like doing Black History Month, or something like that. President's Day and special occasion, they would have movies, and the parents get to come with the children.
That's nice.
They had a lot of interactive things with the parents and the children.
What kind of people did they have come to the school? Like different speakers?
Yes, and they would have people from the neighborhood. People like, I would say somebody like Hurley Goodall would come in, and we'd have they would have people from the police force and just different people. Sometimes the mayor would come, and just according to what they're studying about at that time, they would come in, and we mostly would be in the evening when parents could come get off work, which I'm retired now, but it would be nice, and it'd usually be around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and that way the parents got to come with their children.
Do you think it's important that schools offer activities like that the parents and the kids can get together?
Very important. And I think it helps your child too to know that you're interested, and children won't get into trouble as much, and when they find out their parents know the teachers and they get to come and interact, the child and the teacher and the parent, it just makes better for communicating, better communication.
I'm about out of questions.
Oh, should have turned that off. How come he turned that off?
Maybe he's watching it again.
He is?
I don't know, I can't think.
Maybe I can cut it off, that way it won't. You sure you don't want nothing to drink?
Oh, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. I got all kinds of sodas in there. You're very welcome. I got orange, I got root beer. I think cream soda, if you want something.
Oh, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay.
Is that your family?
That's my daughter that passed, and that's a camouflage of her when she got married and just different times,
I think I'm about out of questions. Do you have any?
Okay.
Like, is there anything that I'm missing that I ought to be asking about? Like things that you think are important about education that I haven't asked you about?
No, I just I always wanted to be a school teacher, and that was one of my greatest. Ever since I was a child, I wanted to be a school teacher. So, but so many different difficulties, I just never could get to finish my education.
Yeah.
But I was a Sunday school teacher, so that was close I got to it. But that was my goal when I got out of high school, is to go to college and become a school teacher. But then my father, like I say, was 20 years older than my mother, and I had 4 sisters and brothers that had to finish high school, and then he lost his sight the year that I finished school, and so that made it impossible for me to go to college. And at the time that I finished school, like in 1959, well, blacks couldn't get school loans and things, to help me go to school. And he wasn't able to work, and so nobody was working about my mother, and so I just came out and got married and got a job. But that was my goal, to be a school teacher. Elementary. I want to teach elementary. I love children.
Do you regret that you weren't able to do that?
Oh, yes. I still work with children, still love children, but that was my goal, was to teach elementary, to be an elementary teacher. But, Lord blessed me with a job, but it just never was what I wanted to do. That was my goal. But different things came in. My brothers and sisters, they needed to go to school, and I had to get a job and help my mother work and support the family. And from there on, I got married and tried to go back to school, but then, like I say, it was during the times that the jobs was hard, and so I just kind of gave up.
Yeah. How long did you teach Sunday school?
Oh, I taught Sunday school, I know, for over 20 years. Sometime now, I will, if the teacher not there, substitute us, our substitutes, but we got young women that teach now, but I taught over 20 years.
Did you teach your kids' classes, or did you teach other ages?
Well, I taught the age like from about 13 to 16. That's the age I taught. And sometime I would teach the small children. But now when I worked in Head Start as a paraprofessional, I taught, it was from 2 to 5. And I taught in the nursery. And I worked with the 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So all along I have taught, I worked over at Huffer, then I worked at Head Start, Delaware County Head Start.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, about your experiences there?
In Head Start? Well, Head Start is usually made up of unprivileged children, and the curriculum is like first grade, from what is it? Before first grade, what is that?
Kindergarten.
Yeah. Kindergarten to first grade. That is what we work with them, and everything in Head Start is designed just like the school system. And so we went along with the program that they had designed, which is like the school system, because Head Start is preparing. That's why it's called Head Start. It's preparing the child for school. So we did lesson plans, and we went along with, like I say, what they had designed. And it was really great, and because we would run into a lot of, you got to have patience working in those kind of programs, because some of the children come from homes, and some of them have broken homes, and some of them come from some of them have physical problems, and some have mental problems, and you gotta have enough patience and know how to work with. See, they're all in one setting. It's not like all the mental over here and all the physical over here. And see, you got to work with them all in that one setting. Where in the school system, that's different.
Right.
Yeah, in the school system, that's different. So it makes it a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But then, everybody can't do that. You know what I mean? Everybody can't do it. You gotta have some spirituality and a kind heart. Because if you don't, you'll make the problem worse.
Yeah.
So they have to be kind of careful of who they choose to teach in. Mhm. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, working with the children and just being able to help. Once a little child been abused at home, he don't need to come there and be abused.
Yeah.
They'll crawl up in your lap, put their hands around your neck, and they just need love. Just need somebody just put their arms around them. And
Yeah.
sometimes they won't say nothing. They'll just come, put their arms around you, and just sit.
Yeah.
And you talk to them and love them. And main thing, they'll sometimes if you're busy, they'll just come sit in your lap and take your arm and put it around them. And they'll just sit. And then there might be one little kid over there. He just go over there and sit. And then we got to make that little kid feel wanted and feel needed. So it's It's much different from a school classroom. Because the little things, we're there to give them a head start out into the world, and where they don't get it at home.
What did you enjoy most about working with Head Start?
Well, I like just being able to help was one thing I liked, and just to know that I'm doing something worthwhile. That I'm doing something worthwhile to help a person to go forward, to help that child to go forward, and help that child feel good. Main thing I liked it to do is make that child feel good about himself or herself. And if you feel good about yourself, that'll spill over into your life, and other people will see it. But you feel bad about yourself. And little children, a lot of time, they're put down and they're abused. And when they come to Head Start, we try to make them feel wanted, that you are somebody, Yeah. That was the main thing that I liked it to do, is to help that child to go forward and feel good about himself. Because if he feel good about himself and happy, learning will be no problem. Learning will be no problem. Some of the children, they feel they can't do anything, and we had all kind of activities. Some of the children can't hardly use their hands. Some of the kids can't, we have music, and some of them can't dance, and some of them don't even want to try. And so our job is to teach them that you can do it. If somebody else can do it, you can too. Teach them, try. A lot of the children, they don't want to even try,
Yeah.
And so we teach them that you can. How important it is to try. So we work with them until they try. Then they find out they can do it. And that's problems in even a regular school, because sometimes I think in a regular school, sometimes the ones in the back never get to them.
Yeah.
They just sit back there, and and they get to the point, well, I'm just not going to even try. Or she never gets back here to me anyway.
Yeah. Do you feel like you were able to do more good working with those kids at Head Start than you would have if you'd been in a regular classroom situation?
Oh, yes. I enjoy it much more.
Yeah.
Because I worked as a teacher's helper in the regular school. But I liked it Head Start much better, because we worked one-on-one with the children.
When did you work as a teacher's helper?
I worked at Washington Carver as a teacher's helper over there. I was a reading tutor. I worked as a reading tutor in the I think it was around 78 and 79 when I worked there as a reading tutor. And I went into homes and tutored some children in their reading. I liked it that.
What ages did you help? Was it all the elementary kids?
Let me see. they was like, well, they hadn't graduated. They was like 4th and 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
4th and 5th grade. Those the grades that I took.
What did you enjoy about doing that?
Well, it just, the child, when they know you was coming, the mother would always make it kind of like special.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt special when you came to tutor them in reading.
Uh-huh.
And most of the time, they didn't have their mind on reading. They want to talk to you and visit with you, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you have to sit there about 5 or 10 minutes and get them calm down to read,
Uh-huh.
because they're so excited about you coming just for them.
Yeah. That's special.
Yeah, that made them feel special, you know. And so some of the kids, they really enjoyed that. You know, having a tutor,
Mm-hmm.
having somebody to come to their house, because it's usually in the evening after school and after, well, around dinner hour after, and you go in with each child. And but that's what they liked it most about the tutors,
Mm-hmm.
is somebody coming, and that made them feel special.
Do you have any specific memories of children that were just really fun to work with, that you felt that you really helped?
I believe each one of them that I tutored, that I helped, because after a little while I didn't have to tutor them anymore, that they brought their grades up in reading, and I experienced working with them. Quite a few of them didn't really need a tutor. They just wasn't doing what they could do.
Yeah.
But when they got a tutor, and we read, and I explained to them, you know, how important it is to read and to study your words, and their grades just came up, so I didn't have to tutor them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they could do it all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there was some that was just a little slow, but reading with them helped them out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I would let them do the reading, you know, and I would brag on them and tell them how great it was. Made them feel good about what they were doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And which your teacher doesn't have time to do that one-on-one, because she's got too many students.
I tutored reading one summer. There was a man that worked for my dad who had recently been divorced and had just moved up from Alabama, and his son hadn't had a very good education. They weren't sure what classroom to put him in, and so when he moved up to Indiana, they ended up putting him in the mildly mentally retarded classroom because he was a little bit behind. And
That was awful, wasn't it?
so I tutored him that summer to try to catch him up. He was about 10 years old, didn't know his alphabet very well, so we did a lot of like worksheets together and learning
That's
sounds
good.
and assigning sounds to letters, and we read together a lot
That's
too.
good.
He
That's
couldn't
good.
read very much at all, so
But you know what? Probably what happened, they didn't put him in school much.
yeah, I don't
Probably
think so.
what it was. He probably didn't get to go to school much.
I know
that's good.
my dad farms, and so he would work with a lot of math stuff with him, you know, like count all the hogs as they're running past, and count how many pens we have, and and add up and multiply, and he got a lot better with math because my dad was able to work with him doing practical stuff, and so then that summer I got to help him with reading.
Good. And I bet he learned real good.
Yep, he got a lot better.
Yes, and you give children a chance, they will. And it's much harder when they get older.
Yeah.
Much harder.
What about when you were at the nursery? How long were you there?
Oh, I worked to the nursery to Huffer. That was during the time that I was taking a class. Taking a class at Ball State. I was there about I think I was there 3 months. I went the whole quarter, and then I think I worked about 4 months because I worked a little bit after the class was over.
And did you enjoy that too?
Oh yes. I was working, like I say, with 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds. 2-year-old, 4-year-old, and I learned and Dr. Hostler. She's dead now, but she was my elementary lady from Ball State, Dr. Hostler, and I mean they had a glass when you work with the children. She would be standing out there and she'd be watching, and that's the way she graded you with what you did. How 2 years old, they don't ever ask for anything. They just reach out, but we had to keep them from clobbering each other because all they do is hit, scratch, and bite. They do not have good communication like a 4-year-old would have.
Yeah.
And so they just, if they want something, instead of walking up asking for it, they just walk up and reach and get it. So we had to, we had to work with them, teach them manners. We cook with them, and oh boy, try cooking cookies with 2-year-olds. They eat up all the dough and keeping them. Well, we had to teach them how to sit and how to get along with each other, and most of the things you're teaching is manners, and good English. Teach them words, and that's most of what you teach them, and then playtime and sleep time and all of that. By that time, the day is gone. Yeah, but most of the things you're teaching them is manners and how to communicate with each other and how to follow rules.
That's important.
How to follow rules. And then something, if we're working on something, we let the parents know so they can follow up on what we are working with the child with. Because if you work with them and then they go home and it's not a follow-up, well, then you're just doing the same thing over and over every day. So that was one of the things when the parents come in. And most of the time we were successful. They would work with them. If we're working on something special with the child, they would work with us.
How long did you say you worked at Head Start?
9 years.
Wow.
9 years of Head Start.
You really made an impact then.
Oh, I loved it. I love working with Head Start. Working with the children. And then I got some education because we would have conferences, and I learned quite a bit, when working with Head Start, because we had classes on different, on different things we had to work with them with, we had classes on how to work with retarded children, and we had classes on how to what to do when they had children had tantrum. You couldn't shake them and you couldn't spank them, so we had to learn, how to work with them when they had tantrum. And
what did you do with them?
Well, first thing we had to do is calm them down, and some of the children, that had mental problems, we would, like take them by the hand and just kind of hold them still. You couldn't shake them or nothing like that, but just kind of touch them, and this would bring them under a suggestion to know that you are there. And have them to sit down, and you sit down with them, and you talk with them and calm them down. Sometimes we would read to them or see what the problem is, and that's what we had to. The first thing we had to do was touch them, gently, because if somebody's is acting fierce, then you go and jerk them. That's just going to make the anger, worse.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of time parents do.
Yeah.
And that just makes the matters worse.
What other kind of things did you learn while you were at Head Start?
Well, we learned how to, let me think now, we worked with those children every day. Like I say, it was like on the school system. Mm-hmm. We taught them how to communicate with each other, mm-hmm. and how to how can I put this in words? How to do things for themselves, mm-hmm. how to do things for themselves, and obedience was one great thing, because a lot of time coming out of those, most of them are problem children. Yeah. That's why Head Start was created, and obedience was one thing. They had to learn how to follow rules and how to communicate without violence. Mm-hmm. Now that was one thing that was much needed, because a lot of them, that's all they saw was violence. Yeah. And manners was a great thing. We had to teach them manners. Mm-hmm. Manners was something we had to teach them, and that was some of the great things we had to teach them. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And some of the conferences that you had dealt with how to teach the different types of kids these skills.
Right. That's what it was, teaching them those skills. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
I bet.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And we got to be patient with that child, and working with that family kind of helped to educate that family in a lot of areas, mm-hmm. that they wouldn't have gotten that education if that child hadn't gone to Head Start.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like what kinds of things did you do with the family?
Well, like housekeeping.
Uh-huh.
A lot, things was taught, because we would have parent classes and, mm-hmm. Housekeeping and how to take care of their children, in a better way, how to take care of their children. You'd be surprised how many people really don't know how to take care of their children. And we had classes teaching them how to discipline, way of discipline their children. That was some of the great things, because some of the homes we went in, those Head Start children, we go in when it's just pitiful. But through Head Start and through the classes, a lot of the families was helped, mm-hmm. And how to manage, mm-hmm. how to manage their money. And we have had children that came out of Head Start that have gone to college, mm-hmm. that have gone to college and have done well for themselves. And some of them come out and gotten jobs, and they're doing good with their families. So I had two daughters to go to Head Start, and both of them are doing well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you still keep in contact with some of the kids that you knew through Head Start? Yeah,
I meet them a lot, because that's like over 30 years.
Yeah.
Over 30 years ago, and I see them. I see some of my Head Start children, and some of them, they've gone into so many different walks of life, uh-huh. but mostly all of them have done well. Mm-hmm. Yes. Every now and then, I come in contact with some of my Head Start children, but they've done good.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of questions again.
Well, good.
Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered about everything I can remember.
Well, thanks a bunch for
you're welcome.
doing this interview.
I'm just glad to do it. What I can remember.
And if you want a copy of the interview, then I can get that for you. Or if you want, we sit down and listen to the tapes and make summaries of everything
Right.
that went on in the interview, and I can give you the printout of that too, or I can give you copies of the tapes.
Well, whatever. Don't go to a lot of trouble, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever's,
Whatever you want.
yeah, whatever's comfortable for you.
Okay.
I just enjoy talking with you.
Would you mind if you sign this to just let us know that it's okay to use your quotes in the book that we're putting together?
Oh,
Would that be
yeah.
all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's worth it, good.
Okay. If you could print your name here and then sign it there.
Print it here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, thanks. And
Pitiful writing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh.
Then is it okay if the tapes go into the archives at the Ball State Library when this project is over?
Fine.
Okay.
Like I say, whatever you can use it for.
Okay. Because that way, future research.